What's up, you Kardavox Academy Warriors? Spark here, and today we are doing something super fun. So every month, our patrons get to nominate and vote on one song and one video for me to break down and analyze. Oftentimes, they throw me curveballs, but today I think I'll be all right. So we're doing Wage War. We're talking about the song "The River," and I'm really excited because I found a live version of this song. I love doing live versions because it kind of lets us see the other aspects of being a vocalist that we sometimes overlook. It's not just about making the sound. It's being able to, it's about being able to make the sound over, a 30-minute, hour, 2-hour long set. So being able to see a vocalist in their element and doing things, without a lot of audio production on what they're doing is really, really insightful. So I'm sure we're going to learn a lot from today's video. Now, if you are new to the channel, what we do is we focus on the reaction format, but we break it down and we make it a little bit more educational. So we pause, we talk about technique, we talk about how to approach these sounds or different ways, because, sometimes you can make a scream in different ways, of course. If you enjoy the content, if you find yourself having a good time, make sure to mention it in the comments below. We really do like getting that feedback. Tell us what you learned. Tell us if you had fun. And then, of course, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. It really does help out with the algorithm. It helps more people see these videos. So, without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's talk about Wage War, The River, and let's look at their live version.
This one goes out to anyone who's been betrayed by someone they love. This one's called The River. Front to back, left to right.
Okay.
San Antonio.
All right.
Let's do this.
All right.
Go. Let's go, San Antonio!
Okay, that seems like a pretty good place to chill. So he looks funny. So for anybody wondering, now this is the first time I've heard this song, but Alex, my business partner, said, yo, when you do this song, there's a section where he coughs. It's part of the song. It's not him making a mistake. So so I appreciate that heads up, because I would have been like, did this guy just mess up his vocals on stage? But I guess it's like part of the thing. So that's cool. So let's go ahead and let's talk about some things that we're hearing here. So first and foremost, Wage War is awesome, right? This is like bouncy, tons of fun, just like good, strong metal, right? Breakdowns are sick. Let's talk a little bit about vocals, though. So there are a couple things that I'm hearing. What we hear Britton doing primarily is building on a very well-supported, gritty, raspy belt. Now, the reason I'm using the words gritty and raspy versus committing to false chord or fry is because oftentimes when we do these types of vocals, we will feel a little bit of a combination of those two distortion types. Not always. When we're belting, when we're using what a lot of times we'll call this call register or this shouting register, which those words can simplify what's going on a little bit. We're not just shouting, but they're terms that you may hear, in your YouTube and internet searches. Oftentimes when we're doing this, our focus needs to be building on our natural voice. And some people just naturally are a little bit more fry forward, and some people naturally are a little bit more false chord forward. With him in his lower end, I hear a lot more false chord forward sounds. So when we are doing these raspy belting sounds, it builds a lot on what I like to call our like Vox trifecta, right? Our breath support, number 1, our resonance, number 2, and our phonation, number 3. Now you can put those in any order you want. If you just scream and make as much distortion as you can certainly get this sound, but you're probably not going to get it very healthfully. What we want to focus on is we want to focus on breathing in such a way where our neck and our shoulders are entirely relaxed, You're going to feel your ribs expand. Now, when we actually get this sound out, we're going to be aiming up. We're going to be aiming our voice. This is where the resonance comes in. We're going to aim our voice up and forward, kind of coming out of the cheekbones here. Hey, 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 hey. In fact, when I'm doing vocals similar to this, I don't really do a lot of this same shouting in much of our music, but there are certain places where I do. When I'm doing a lot of this, I usually like to warm up or calibrate with this vowel. Sounds super, super goofy. But if I take my scream, right, if I take more of a belting, like we're not trying to do like slammy, deep, crazy deathcore. We're trying to do more of like a poppy, not as in pop music, but as in like a punchy belt, like a calling, like hype man sound. If I take that, you can see that I can get that sound. And as much as you heard that involved like crazy amounts of distortion, it was tremendously comfortable because in finding that forward resonance and supporting my belt with my abdominal muscles, pushing downward to get upward pressure, right? All of that distortion, or I should say the vast majority of it, moved up onto my soft palate, right? And forward. That's going to be key. You can get this sound doing it the wrong way, but you're not going to last very long. Other than that, I think we can keep going. That's kind of the main takeaway that I heard is we're getting this. And a great exercise to do this, I've mentioned this before, and I'll probably mention it again, is kind of like focusing on that dog bark sound. All right, let's go ahead and let's keep going. Let's have some fun. This song is pretty dope, but so far I'm really liking what I'm hearing. Little palate cleanser.
Let me see you bang these hands, Texas.
What a good frontman.
It's your time to shine, San Antonio. You know what to do. Back to front, left to right.
Yo, I love this dude's like swagger. Every once in a while, he just kind of has fun on stage. I actually am, one of the things I'm really liking is watching him as a frontman. I think he's doing a really great job. Like, he is a good performer. And actually, let's talk about that aspect of being a vocalist and how it kind of is playing into the way he's making these vocal sounds. So oftentimes when we are thinking about vocals, we will hear two very different vocals and think that they're two separate techniques. Now, the word technique in the vocal world is fairly vague and ambiguous. Oftentimes people use it interchangeably. What I like to think about is that we can use the same technique, but articulate it in different ways to make it sound very unique and interesting, right? So he's using what I like to call like a hype man voice. And it's a voice we've all heard before. And I've done it before back when Kardashev was playing a lot more shows, back when we were playing live a lot more. And, you know, it's that voice that says, you know, thank you all so much for coming out. It's great to see your faces today. Now, listen, I want each and every one of you to, you know, that sort of thing. I'm not good at ad-libbing, but that sound, that way we articulate, if we put that on,
That sound, that way we articulate, right there. Thanks for sound.
right, that's going to give us a really like hardcore, like heavier than pop punk, but kind of poppy punky sound to it, right? Now, if I take that same sound and I articulate it more like a deathcore vocalist, right? And he's definitely dipping into multiple articulatory styles. I'm not trying to pigeonhole this guy. But if I take it, and he actually does this, a great example is he does this on his low. Now it sounds like a different vocal style, but it's just that sound being articulated in different ways, right? That's really what's happening. Our articulation is doing the work. Now, one way that, this sound, this vocal style that I'm doing has a certain level of compression to it, right? Whether you're going more fry forward, more false chord forward, mixing it up either way. It's not just like clearly this is something different. One way that I like to help students find this is, first and foremost, your main thing should be being able to, use your call register, calling hey across a parking lot, and feeling like your voice is kind of in your nose and on your hard palate. Before you do any grit, that should be your first step. Hey, whoa, hey. Until you can do that, like, kind of hold off, honestly. That's my opinion. Now, once you've got that comfortable, one thing I like to do is I kind of like to use this sound to start developing this distortion, because to say we have a natural level of compression in our airway. It's coming from multiple structures, making that airway narrow, but it's very healthy. You can say all day and it's not going to hurt you one bit, right? And so we can kind of lean in it and slowly add grit over time. Well, let me start from the very, very beginning. And that's really relaxed. I don't really feel like I'm working for that very hard at all. Now, on its own, it doesn't really sound that cool or that great. That's where lyrics and articulation and different resonance places come in. But that's a lot of, how you can start. Add that to like some dog barking. I like to say the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Right? Different things like that can work really well. There's a lot I could talk about, but let's go ahead and keep going. Oh man, no. That's it, it's over? Psh, man. That song was sick. That song has a lot more breakdowns than I normally like in a song. Sometimes when a song has like breakdown after breakdown after breakdown, I'll be honest, I get a little distracted. However, those dudes really made it work. But let's talk more about Britton's voice, because there are a couple things I want to wrap up with here as we do. He actually gave a great example. I've got this little beat up old mic from like 12 years ago that I'm going to use as an example. But he actually kind of exemplified the articulation and how we can do things differently. Let me see if I can find it here. Give me a second. Maybe. We'll see. Yeah, so right here, he's kind of using that like, hey, what's up, whoa, like that kind of articulation around his distorted sound. And then when he goes into his lows, he's going to go into more of a deathcore, very like Thou Art Is Murder type of articulation. One last thing I want to point out, and the whole reason I grabbed this little microphone, There's a purpose to this. One last thing I want to point out is let me do this right. So if I take this sound and I'm going to articulate it, I'm going to use like that hype man, that vocalist voice, right? Hey everybody, what's going on? Yay, everybody, what's going on? Yay, everybody, what's going on? Right? Has a different sound than everybody, what's going on? Right? Now, one thing he's doing, and I'm not going to open up the don't cup your mic debate. That's just not what this video is about. Whether or not you are pro cupping mic or anti cupping the mic, and whether or not you think it sounds better or worse, one thing you really can't deny is that it does make the sound different. And that is something that a lot of deathcore vocalists do, and death metal vocalists do, and all these genres. That's one thing that they do to change the sound. And you don't have to be running it through a PA to kind of get this. So like if I have my, oh, look, here I am. I'm ready to cup. And, I'm just going to be honest. I've cupped the mic before. I've done it. I won't lie. So if I have my microphone right here, right, and I'm going to do a, now obviously there's no audio coming through here, but you'll still be able to kind of get an idea. If I take this sound, that's a 100% unprocessed, no double tracking, nothing scream, right? And in a live setting, that's a lot of what it would sound like, right? Obviously, unless I'm running my voice through like, multiple effects, live effects and everything like that. But if it's just mic into the PA, then that's a lot of what you're going to hear, right? Now, if I take this and I kind of put in my mouth, you can already hear, right? You can already hear that it's giving it like this sort of muffled resonance that's got a lot of low end to it, right? So if I take that same sound, right? Obviously, just dead mic into like my voice in here, it doesn't sound like cool per se, but you can hear how like in a live setting that would make it sound really thick and deep. I'm not saying that anybody who cups a mic is cheating. I just want you to understand kind of why people do that. That's the whole goal there. So let's go ahead and wrap up. First and foremost, Wage War is dope. So if Wage War sees this, you guys are killing it. Great job. Love it. Been sleeping on this band for far too long. Secondly, when we're doing this vocal, really, like if you really want to like do this right, learning to belt, even if you're not into clean singing, learning to belt would be really, really helpful. And I talk a little bit about belting in the last video I did. The power metal Ghost of Marley song. But learning to belt would be a great first step, and getting a good handle over your resonance placement would be a really good step too. Hey, nice in front versus hey, deep in my throat. That's going to cause you problems. That's going to keep you healthy. Secondly, adding this distortion, you should really just kind of follow what comes naturally, and feel free to go for exercises like, dog barking or shouting healthfully with this resonance placement and this support for your belting, right? Right? Feel free to follow those places. Once you have that down and you can do that pretty well, play around with vowel shapes, play around with opening your mouth, closing your mouth, curl your tongue up, curl your tongue down. Sometimes like when I'm doing like really weird stuff, I'll even do that. And it sounds weird on its own, but layered in the back can sound kind of cool. Anyways, I could ramble on forever, but I'm going to avoid doing that. Again, if you enjoyed the content, if you learned something, please be sure to tell us below and make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot to us. We do have a Patreon where we have a lot of exclusive rewards that are a lot of fun. And if you want to vote on a video, that's where you got to be. So feel free to check that out. As always, make sure you're screaming safely. Make sure you're belting safely. Many thanks. Much love. I'm out.